monophonic ringtones, not polyphonic, not yet. And it was just a blast. I mean, it brings back many memories. However, as I said before, it did not come with a charger. So as the minutes turned to hours, hours turned into days, the phone ran out of battery. And at that point, I was like, okay, I can't use this phone anymore. And silly me, I broke the thing and threw it away. And ever since, I kept searching for another one to replace that hole in my heart. In 2009, I found a listing on Craigslist for a similar model. Now, the one I had was blue, just saying. However, my dad did not buy it for me, and I was sad. And throughout the years, I kept on searching. Until recently, a couple months ago, I found a phone of a similar specification to fill that longing hole. However, the N200 is not the subject of today's video. However, it does play a very important role in the history behind the subject of today's video. Now, this phone over here on the left is the Samsung SPH-3500, which, as you can see, had a similar design, and I think this one came either before or later, I don't remember. It had a few changes, and it wasn't as well made, but it was still also vastly popular. And there was also the N300, which had a slightly different design. As you can see, it's more of a flip cover over the keypad and then go hinge over the screen. So this one was a bit different, as you can see. And I don't think this one was as popular, honestly. And I'm sure there were a couple other variations and models, but these three were just the most popular ones to reach up to the current point. The SPH-N400. Now you'll immediately notice that this one is much more high-powered and has a color screen. Now this came out in around 2002, as you can see by this date over here, and was released to Sprint mid to late 2002. And this phone, well, there's a lot you can say about it, but there's a lot that you can't say. You can't say that Samsung tried to make a smartphone out of a feature phone. Smartphone? Well, kind of, but not really. I mean, nowadays when you think of a smartphone, you probably think of something like this, or something like this. But in 2002, smartphones looked a bit different. Like this, for instance. Now notice that a lot of smartphones had Palm OS back in the day. Also, when you think of feature phones nowadays, you probably think of something like this. Or like this. These are feature phones. And these are smartphones. There's nothing in between, right? Right? We'll get to that question later. In the meantime, let me tell you how I came across my very own N400. I was searching on eBay, as I did usually every couple of months, to see if a new listing popped up with an N200. Because I found one a few months before, and I wanted to see if there was another one again. And I found quite a few, and then I found a listing for an N400 for around $30. So I'm like, I should totally get that. And guess what? I did. This right here is my very own N400 in working condition, and it's activated. Also, remember when I said that I paid about $30 for this thing? Well, when it was new, it was certainly not that cheap. Here's Sprint PCS's website from around December of 2002. We scroll down here. You can see that the N400 costs around $180, which was an $80 savings. So if you were to pay full price for this, that would be around $250 or $330 in today's money, inflation and whatever. So it was not a cheap toy. And it shouldn't have been cheap, because based on the hardware that was packed into this thing, it was well worth the money. Speaking of hardware, let's have a look at it, shall we? So, on the front we have a nice tiny little LCD here. Well, not LCD, CSTN to be exact, and I was never particularly fond of CSTN displays, so not my cup of tea, but it does its job. We have a menu key, a back key, and then this thing. You don't push down here. No, it's like a joystick. You just move it around like that and press to select. Pretty interesting for its time. It was also available on the N200, I believe, but not on the N300 or the 3500. How sad. We also have an extendable antenna because, let me just say reception on this thing is not the best. We have a status LED or notification LED, whatever you want to call it. On the left side, we have a 2.5mm headphone jack. Thankfully, I have a headset for this. And volume up and down buttons, which you can also use, in most cases, instead of the navigation keys, if you wanted. So you can just go like this. I don't know why you would do that, but you could. And you have a weird groove on the side, probably for like a holster or something. Now on the bottom, you have this is like some kind of a data port, so you could plug it into your PC, or use it as a modem if you wanted to. And the charging port, and I do have a charger for this, thank God. And on the right side, we have some knockout plug for something, probably an external antenna. Well, another antenna, and a speakerphone button. On the back, we have a speakerphone logo type of thing, and things for lanyard, and a speakerphone itself. And here we have our battery. There we go. This is a 3.7 volt lithium-ion battery. Does not claim what the ampage is. And you'll notice that there's no camera. However, there is a workaround for taking pictures. It's called the Sprint PCS Vision Camera. Basically, it's a small little external camera that you could take pictures with, sync it up to your phone or your digital pictures library. I don't know what that is. Of course, the service is down now, and you could, view your images on your camera. On your phone. Now I'm getting confused. There was only one other phone that supported this, and that was the A500. And the A500 actually came with a free camera. And I don't have a picture here, and for $300 you can get a flipped version of the N400, essentially, with a camera. So that's good. You can take pictures, color display. Now you'll also notice, see if I can get it to focus here, digital by Qualcomm. That's important because this has data connection. No, it's not some cheap 1X or Edge. We're talking 3G. This phone came out in 2002 and it supports 3G. Can't say the same for some newer phones, can you? Well, this was part of Sprint PCS Vision. They wanted to change networking somehow by adding 3G. And honestly, it didn't help. Honestly, this thing's activated and it still runs terribly on modern internet. Even on sites that it was designed for, it still runs ridiculously slow. So, that's enough of looking at the front of it. Let's open it up. Opening it up reveals the headset, earpiece, which honestly sounds terrible. Call quality is not very good here. Samsung logo, and all the logos and sometimes the buttons can be different depending on what carrier you have. For example, if you're on Bell Atlantic Canada, I think it is, there's no Sprint logo, it just says Samsung. So we have our talk, our numerical keypad, and the end and power key. So, enough babbling, let's fire this thing up. Alright, here we go. You get this nice autumn-themed Sprint logo. Also, a fun fact, there's a smartwatch from China, of course, that has that exact same startup sound. I don't know why. So, booting it up, you can see a lot of interesting things. First of all, it has support for animated wallpapers, which is pretty revolutionary at the time. In fact, support for any type of wallpapers, or even a color screen was revolutionary at the time, taking a look at what it was compared to back in 2002. Yeah, which one looks more technically advanced to you? Alright, so let's have a look around the menus, shall we? Alright, so let's open up our menu here. And we have our call history, phone book, messaging, which isn't really messaging, and I'll explain that later. We have web, Now this comes with the Obigo 1.1.4 browser, which is WAP 2.0 compatible. So that's a plus, I guess. Not anymore. It's not in 2015. Oh, for crying out loud. We have our downloads, which actually houses all of our external applications, including games and other apps. So that's cool. We have our pictures. Sorry, my camera keeps falling down. It's in the weirdest angle right now. There we go. We have our pictures, which, as we talked about, is for the Vision camera. We have our voicemail, which doesn't really work anymore because I think it's supposed to connect to some Sprint server, but now it just says I have no voicemail, even though I do have voicemail. We have our voice dialing, which kind of works. I'll explain how that works later, but it's kind of weird. Planner, which has a bunch of different productivity related stuff. Anything you wanted. We have our settings and our key guard. Key guard, basically, if you touch the keys, it won't actually unlock. You have to press and hold the back key to disable it. So those are the menus. So let's go deep into the features. Alright, so let's take a look at the call history. Now, call history gives you access to your missed, outgoing, and incoming calls, and you can also clear your history from here. So it's a pretty simple UI type of thing. You can just scroll around, call people. Also erase your history if you want. You can choose what you want to erase, which is nice. Alright, phone book. You can find, add new entries, group settings, or your phone number, services, and it gives you shortcuts to many of the Sprint services that you could dial directly, like customer care will be 611, it would just automatically dial. No, not 611, star 2. Oh, okay then. And it disconnected me from the service. Great. Yeah. I guess a lot of these services are down now, but whatever. So, messaging. Now, this is pretty much the only major problem with this phone. It supports SMS, but you can only receive SMS. There's no way to send SMS. It has support for short mail, but short mail was shut down a couple years ago. Email is based off of the old version of Yahoo Mobile, which is no longer supported, so that's pretty much broken as well. And notifications allows you to look at your different text messages that you've received. Next up, we have Web. Now, Web is the Obigo browser. I can't show you the loading page for the browser because it contains my phone number, because it has to sign in as. So here is vision.sprintpcs.com. Now, it actually looks different depending on what device you're running. If I do this on my S4, it'll show up with a much more complex UI, but this is what shows up on the older phones. You have all sorts of different things. Let's go back up to the top here. You have messaging, which doesn't work at all anymore. Go ahead and open that. And for those of you who are wondering how I got this thing activated, I went to ringplus.com, or .net, sorry. And Ring Plus is this awesome service. They have a bunch of free plans. I'm using their totally free plan because I don't really want to waste money on this. So we have instant messaging, which I think is AOL. Probably doesn't work. And email, which also does not work. So yeah, a lot of this stuff just no longer works. News, it gives you links to a bunch of popular news sites. However, most of these do not load anymore because the browser is just way too outdated. Keep in mind this browser is like 13 years old. Good luck getting Instagram to work on here. I mean, there is a trick to getting Instagram to kind of load, but yeah, so if stuff like this happens, you get all sorts of weird error messages and such. I've actually had the browser crash a lot. It'll say memory overflow, turn off browser, and then it'll close out. They have a bunch of different news services that no longer work. And Google search on every page, which is really cool. concerning that Google.com doesn't work that well, believe it or not. You need to use this proprietary Google search. Weather, this is pretty much the only thing I use out of this menu. It works great, no problems. You can check the weather. Sunrise and sunset. And you can change your zip code. Let's go back here. So like I said, it's pretty slow. I mean, even loading a basic website like this takes an unreasonable amount of time in my opinion. Sports, does this work? I don't exactly recall if it does. Let's find out. Okay, si.com. Okay then. I often get a lot of errors related to Sprint on here, like that forbidden, and also I've gotten an error once where the internet gateway was out of memory and it couldn't load the website. Now the internet gateway is not exactly the phone, but the Sprint service itself. Because how this works is the phone itself doesn't actually load the web page. It loads like I think it's like oa.sprintpcs.com/ and the website URL. So it does it all through sprintpcs.com. And probably a bunch of other services that don't work here. I'll show you an example of how it loads web pages when we actually go to third-party sites. Next we have entertainment. Probably doesn't work. News, movie and TV, music, and city guides, whatever that is, shopping, travel, and that's all we have. I think some of these work. I haven't really gone too much in detail. Alright, save music loads. No content is available. Okay. Sorry for the excessive load times. I'm trying to give an authentic experience here. Good God, what is going on here? Yeah, this phone isn't exactly the most stable or the fastest. Okay, I'm going to restart the browser. Or no. I'll just try to go home here. I'll just restart the browser. There's a lot of these weird animations when you close out of applications and stuff. It's very fish themed. I don't know why exactly. The A500 is similarly themed with all sorts of fish related stuff. Alright, now let's see if we can go home to continue looking at the brilliant services that Sprint has to offer. I say that with sarcasm. Money, and you get the point. So you can do a few things here. But let's go browse the web. Let's see where I have my bookmarks here. Let's go to scottgames.com for those of you who are into Five Nights at Freddy's. So, a lot of websites do not work, but there are plenty of websites that do work. I mean, at least to some extent. And if you can't tell, it actually loaded up there. You can see the logo. Scott currently put a blank image as his website. If you want more information on that, you can ask the fandom. It's a long story, but let's have a look if it'll show us the truth behind the URLs. No, I don't want to go to show URL. You see, this is how it does it. oap.sprint.com/scottgames.com. And if I try to go to oap.sprint.com, it just gives me a connection refused. if I do it like on my computer or something. Yeah, let's go to About Browser, just for laughs. It doesn't even say that Obigo made it, it just says Samsung. Because they're so nice. Let's try some other sites. Let me try Google. Just type this in really quick. .com. Let's go to Google.com. It's kind of crippled, honestly. I mean, even Google doesn't work properly. I have managed to get some WAP versions of AOL, the actual sign-in page to load, but not the mail or anything. Gmail doesn't work, YouTube doesn't work. Pretty much anything doesn't really work unless you find a specific WAP or WAP, whatever you want to call it. A specific version of that site. That's fine. Also notice, like, if I scroll really fast, that's the normal sound, then just it goes crazy if I try to go too fast. That's another problem. It doesn't support fast scrolling. Get good Google Chrome, I wish. Keep going. Oh my god. Is that the search box? How do I get to the search box? Forgot how to get to the search box. There we go. Let me type in my Instagram username here. Alrighty. I'm just going to go ahead and click on Google Search. And it'll start loading up results. Did you mean I am Foxes? No. Wow, the logo actually showed up for once. Oh my god. Not hacked 4x, hacked 5x. Ugh. And you can visit all sorts of different websites. But I won't do that now. So yeah, that's just a bit of a demo of the web browser. Pretty crippled. I wouldn't really recommend using it on a daily basis, but if you really had to, that's all I'm going to say, if you really had to. Downloads, you can have a look at your games. A bunch of games here. Cyrace, which is actually made by the same company that made the Cybeco. Yes, I have a Cybeco product installed on this phone. It has this weird animation for loading apps. It just gives this binary thing. Now, it's just a demo. You actually have to buy the game. But, oh, yeah, you can't just press OK. You have to click Menu Select. I thought it was for a lot of games, actually. It's really annoying, in my opinion. So, yeah, it's pretty limited. You can only race on a few tracks. Actually, only one track. And yeah, there you go. You're racing. Very primitive compared to today's games, but technically it's not 3D, but again, better than games you'd find on a Nokia 3310. Not only better, but more sophisticated, would I say. Yeah, so you can only play for 30 seconds before the game ends. Get your full version at Cybeco.com. Oh god. So yeah, that's that. How do we get out? Exit. About version 1.1.1, copyright 2002 Cybeco. The memories. Well, let's get out of here. There's so many weird Easter eggs in here. It's really unprofessional. So we have Space Invaders. Again, we have our little animation here. So pretty slow. But as I said, it's not a fast phone. Play Games Network. Alright. Space Invaders. Copyright Taito 2002. So you can play a very primitive version of Space Invaders. It's kind of hard to control. Can I use the... No. Just vibrated there. Oh god, okay. There's no real sound. Yeah, I died. Demo complete. You can access full version of Space Invaders on your phone by launching the web and clicking on games. You can also find Space Invaders in our content catalog on the wired web at sprintpcs.com. Alrighty. Let's get out of there. And we have Monkey Ball, which is a silly name, but it's probably the better of the games. Has some sounds and plays nicely, but the intro doesn't look very good. Sega Mobile. Yes, Sega's a part of this. And not a very nice looking title screen here, but yes, I am ready. So basically, you're timed, and you go ahead and get a banana here, and you try to reach the goal before the time runs out. For some reason, it appears to be accessing the network, the data network. I don't know why. Oh, darn it, I fell out. Fallout 4! Sorry, I have to do that. Alright, let's try it again. So we got a banana. Oh, come on. It's not that easy when you're playing it on the floor, that's for sure. Let's carefully guide the monkey ball. There we go. And we have moving tiles. Okay. There we go. Now this